Alright guys, here it is, the brand new Gauntlet. So let's go ahead and talk about the brand new content mega patch update with the gameplay of the new Gauntlet. So here's what the Gauntlet actually is, and I'll show you guys how to access it. So pretty much you go in, you kill monsters, and your whole goal is to get on the leaderboard. If you're interested in getting gear, this is not for you. This is basically for people that have min-max their characters, but it's not even that hard to actually kill monsters here. However, the more players you go in with, the tougher the monsters will be, just because the monsters do scale with the amount of players that are in the game. So we are actually playing one of the newer builds too. This is the Flurry build. So first off, I'll go over how you can access the brand new content. So you have to have access to World Tier 4, and then you're going to go to Yugioh, and you're just going to go to the docks over here. So if you want to see like the whole map, basically this is where you would be, where you would fight Duriel, and then you just go to Yugioh, and you go from the waypoint, you go to the very end over here. There's like this little statue, you talk to it, and you get to go in. So what can you expect to see for rewards? So here's what we've placed over here from like the previous speed runs. This is like these were all official runs that we had records for back in the previous season when people actually would do speed runs for the game before they had official Diablo leaderboards. I'm usually someone that likes to min-max, and as far as the game goes, there's no incentives to min-max other than for the whole placement on the leaderboards. It's just like any speedrunning, website where you get to have your name on there and it seems cool. The highest that we've placed so far was rank 22, and the highest points that we've had is 381,000. I'm sure by the time, the next couple days come out, someone's going to get much higher score. But at the end of the day, the main thing that you want to try to get is just get worthy. That is like the high rank that you can get in the game, and then you're going to get some sort of cash reward. Now, what's inside, we don't know because, well, it doesn't get to be opened until later. So ideally, you just try to place on the leaderboards, and then you're going to get some sort of reward. Now, as far as we're aware of, you're supposed to get like you should get 925 gear is what they said that we're going to get. So you don't even have a sense of progression in terms of getting a huge reward at the end of this. So they said that there are going to be uniques here. Now, as far as Uber uniques go, maybe that there's a small chance. I'm hoping that there is a small chance. I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to be on the leaderboards, I'm going to keep it real with you guys. If you want to be at the highest rank, you're probably not going to reach there without some Uber uniques. And that's the sad reality of the leaderboards. It's not like, the challenge rifts where like you can go in with an equal, fighting chance because your build is the exact same. The difference between having a grandfather and not having a grandfather if you're playing Barbarian, or having like Ring of the Starless Skies plus a Harlequin Crest on most builds is pretty massive. And the thing is that this is made for the, the top 1%. For majority of players, here's my thoughts on this, because this is the whole point of this video. It's kind of like a review / feedback as a Diablo partner. And I've gotten multiple like rank 1s in Diablo 3, and like I said, I was doing speed runs for a while in Diablo, and I had multiple like rank 1s and a lot of top 3 finishes. So like I would consider myself someone that would play the game a lot more because I'm like, oh, I'm excited to be competitive with other players. But the thing is that even though you're getting the same shrines, the monster layout is the exact same, there are a few problems, and one major issue is that you can pop consumables. So that makes it so if someone has a bunch of consumables and all these other things that they can stack up, well, you're going to be at a disadvantage because you didn't farm them. So that's one major issue that I think is really like kind of not fun, because that means, okay, if I want to min-max, I have to make sure I'm always popping my consumables before entering in this area. And, well, I want to say, well, yeah, if you're looking to really min-max in any video game, you would be able to like snapshot and do things like that, and you can't snapshot. But I really don't think consumables should have been a thing, because that means you can't consistently go in it again and again and again, because what's going to happen is you're going to run out of that consumable, therefore you have to go RNG, get that as a drop, or craft it, get all of the consumables, and that's one thing I don't think should have existed in the Gauntlet for the sake of being competitive. Back when I was doing speedruns for Diablo 4 with some of the leaderboards, we were not allowed to grab shrines, and we also couldn't use Varion, that is the spear that gives you the ability to get shrines. That was to try to keep it as balanced as possible. And on top of that, I believe we also could not use consumables because, again, that was the point of a speedrun, is to have as equal as a chance as possible, and then consumables mess things up, and that's why it was disabled for the competitive leaderboard on the official speedruns. So that's kind of a disappointing thing, but also I would really like to see a leaderboard that has either no Uber uniques, or you have the same exact class, kind of like a challenge rift, because that way it's actually about skill versus, oh, this guy just has an Uber unique and he's going to be able to compete, and the normal player would not be able to compete. And even though at the end of the day this is designed for the top 1% of the 1%, basically, because the people that have the Uber uniques, is this going to be something that I can sit here and play 8 hours a day? Because remember, there's only one map. It's not like you get random maps and you can fish for things. This is the same exact map. Would I want to do this for an extended period of time? No. And on top of that, what I find more interesting is you don't even get the rewards if you place instantly, because there's no point of really placing until the end of the week anyways, because you don't get the rewards. And on top of that, the rewards that were mentioned in the official Diablo live stream was that, well, you should get 925 gear. What do you mean I should be getting 925 gear? In the little cache. Now, even if I got 925 gear, 925 at this point isn't exciting anymore. The only thing that would be exciting for any like average Diablo player is to play this and get an Uber Unique. Maybe they can make it realistic for people to get Uber Uniques through this mechanic. And the thing is this is the brand new thing, and you're not able to actually gain extra character progression realistically by doing this. Even though you can access it at World Tier 4, you're not going to be able to place on the leaderboard. You're not going to be getting that worthy. Therefore, you're not going to be able to get the cash. So what's the point of doing this? But it's so backwards also that it's released in the middle of the season, which is weird because at the start it would have been a lot more exciting, because then there's all these crazier builds and more people can place on leaderboards versus the people that just have the Uber Uniques, right? That is a huge thing in the game right now. And also, if you guys were looking to like kind of copy people's builds, it's actually terribly designed right now, because you can private your profile, and also you can just move around things because it doesn't snapshot at that particular moment, nor can you see any of the glyphs and other things that you'd want to see like you would normally want for a leaderboard to view profiles, so you can see what's the best build and kind of copy and paste, or just get some inspiration to try out other builds. So they kind of scuffed that up too. And what I find crazier is we waited so long for this thing, right? It got pushed back again and again, and it releases, and you know, I didn't really have too many expectations for like the game in terms of being able to sit here and play the same level. Like I did not expect to want to play this for 10 hours anyway. So for the average player, you're probably going to be playing it for a little bit, and then you're going to get bored in maybe like a day at the most, maybe even an hour, and you're done with this. But that's not all that's in this update, and I want to go ahead and stress that, because most people, they're not interested in trying to hit like the top rank. They might not even care about getting the Blessing of the Worthy, because what do you get out of it? You get maybe 925 gear. It's not even that you're getting Uber Uniques, and that's a huge disappointment. So most people, again, they probably don't care about hitting rank 1. I cared about it in Diablo 3 because it's really fun at the start of the night, because it starts at the start of the season, right? But there is more things in this content update than just the Gauntlet. But that's like the big thing. That is the new end game. That's the competitive mode. But there is more stuff to consume. So there are new vampiric powers, and some of them are actually kind of cool. So like for certain builds, like the Sorceress, you can inflict the vampiric curse on enemies, so you can get extra sources of vulnerability, which is good. You have Metamorphosis, although this one's kind of scuffed. They nerfed the evades cooldown, so you can't like consistently keep it up. And then there's another thing where you get basically guaranteed overpowered. The rest of the other thing doesn't really matter. You can reduce your active cooldowns with Hectic, and then after casting some skills, you get to heal for some small amount of life. And there's another cool thing for basic attack. And then each class kind of has a newer build, and you guys are seeing one of the newer builds, which is the Flurry Rogue, but they got a massive buff. So you can see we got another Worthy. All that really matters is you just get Worthy, and then you get your cash. Again, remember, you're not going to be able to go ahead and get anything relatively good out of it. Like, don't expect that, like, oh, you open up the cache, multiple Uber Uniques, and here's just some more Gauntlet gameplay here. But every single class got something new to mess around with, like for the most part. Over here, like this one, like it changes polearm. They also changed Gore. So what did Barbarian get? Well, Gore's got a massive buff. Is it going to matter? No. As far as I'm aware of right now, it's still Hodabarb. For Druid, there's like a massive buff that gives you 180% damage to like the Stormhowl. With Necromancer, they made Blood Surge get a little bit of buff, and that was actually on the leaderboards. A bunch of other like little buffs over here. And then with the Sork, we got a small buff with like Ball Lightning, and then there's also an Incinerate buff, but that's going to be memes. I don't think it's going to be viable. And then there's a Flurry buff, and the Flurry buff is okay, but is it going to be like game-breakingly good? I don't think so. There's a change to Eagle Horn. There's basically a massive nerf to the Rogue as well, and the massive nerf is specifically one of the weapon masteries points was like Bug Nose give you way more damage. So I think it's more interesting to kind of mess around with a brand new build for the class versus just playing the Gauntlet. So if you've gotten bored of the Gauntlet, well, there's still more stuff to consume. I mean, every class kind of has some little buffs, and try out some of the newer stuff to have a little bit more fun with it. But overall, my thoughts on the Gauntlet, I wanted to kind of play for a little bit more, but I want to say within the day or a weekend, most players will probably move out of it. But it gives us something to do, I guess, for, you know, every week you can come back, and we'll see what the rewards look like for the game. But that's my thoughts on the Gauntlet, and there's some gameplay. What do you guys think of it? I'm curious to know what your thoughts are down below. But if you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here, subscribe, turn on the bell if you want to see some more content, and I'll be dropping more builds very, very soon. Peace out.